Ionic compounds. Some definitions and bits of information. An ionic compound is a compound that is made of ions. An ion is an atom or group of atoms with an electrical charge. The charge may be positive or negative, and it may be more than +1 or -1. A positive ion is called a cation, while a negative ion is called an anion. A cation is created by the atom losing one or more electrons. An anion is created by an atom gaining one or more electrons. A group of atoms with a charge is called a polyatomic ion. Most polyatomic ions are anions. Pause the video here to write down these definitions. All compounds are electrically neutral, even ionic compounds. This means that an ionic compound must contain both positive and negative ions. So, to make an ionic compound from two elements, we need an element that will make a positive ion, that is, one that will lose one or more electrons, and we need an element that will make a negative ion, that is, one that will gain one or more electrons. We have already identified two basic types of elements, metals and nonmetals. Metals are almost all solid elements that are to the left and bottom of the periodic table. Metals are very common elements, like copper, gold, and sodium. There is one that is a liquid at room temperature, mercury. Metals tend to make positive ions. A quick review of the periodic property ionization energy should remind us why. Ionization energy is the energy we need to remove an electron from an atom. This is energy we need to add to the atom to pull the electron away because it is attracted to the nucleus. The ionization energy tends to increase as we move toward the right across a period and as we move up a group. Making a positive ion requires us to add energy. The elements that need the least energy to form positive ions are the elements to the left and bottom of the periodic table, the metals. Nonmetals are to the right and top of the table, except for hydrogen, which is a nonmetal and is on the far left of the table. Nonmetals are gases, like chlorine or the noble gases, or usually low melting point solids like sulfur or phosphorus. There's also one liquid at room temperature, bromine. Nonmetals tend to form negative ions. Electron affinity is the energy given off when an electron is added to a neutral atom. Energy is released because opposite charges, the protons in the nucleus and the electrons being added, attract. Electron affinity varies the same way that ionization energy does, except for the noble gases, increasing to the right and up. Since we get energy out when an electron is added to an atom, the nonmetals will give back the most energy when a negative ion is made. So, if I try to combine a metal, like sodium, and a nonmetal, like chlorine, the metal will give up its electron, requiring a bit of energy, making a positive ion or cation. and the nonmetal will gain an electron, giving off some energy, making a negative ion, or anion. These oppositely charged ions will then attract each other, making salt, releasing more energy as they come together. This attraction between oppositely charged ions is called an ionic bond. It results from the transfer of electrons from one or more atoms to another or more than one atom, so that each atom winds up with a filled or empty valence shell. The total energy given off when the nonmetal adds the electron and when the ions come together because of their attraction is greater than the energy needed to remove the electron and create the positive ion from the metal. It is important to remember that when we make these positive and negative ions, the electrons don't just go off into space. They are transferred to another atom, so that the total charge must still be neutral, 0. You may pause the video here to write down the definition of ionic bond. So, in order to form an ionic bond, we need a metal atom and a nonmetal atom. The metal atom easily gives up its electron because it has a low ionization energy. The nonmetal atom easily gains an electron because it has a high electron affinity. So we can say that the conditions needed to form an ionic bond are that one atom has a low ionization energy and the other atom has a high electron affinity. You may pause the video to write down these conditions.